ARK's ultimate loot is tech gear. It's meant to enhance your gameplay by giving you weapons, futuristic armor, and much more. But how many players have actually bothered getting to that stage? Why is it so redundant, and why do so many players prefer primitive? My name's Jade. We're going to discuss this today as we hear even more from the developers of ARK, reaffirming that tech won't be a part of ARK 2. This week with Raz, the best ARK news tuber out there, on our Survival Evolved podcast, we spoke to Nakatus, the curator of two of ARK's official maps, Valguero and Fjordor. He has been using Unreal Engine 5. And of course, ARK 2 is being made in that same engine. He's been showing off a bunch of assets from ARK 1 put into the engine of the next game, to highlight and show the improvements with lighting, composition and more. How about a Reaper Queen in Unreal Engine 5? Or Triceratopses lying around in the bush? It looks great, and obviously these are still the ARK 1 models. They've just simply been transported to the new engine. But when Nakatus showed off the tech tier picture, said the community manager for ARK asked what is tech with a smirk face. And when I said hopefully a thing of the past in the future of ARK, because I really can't stand tech, and I'm about to show you why, said liked the comment. Now this isn't the first time that said has actually hinted at the next game being more primitive. Community manager has been pretty vocal in stating that the next sequel won't have that much tech involved. And back in June in 2021, in the community crunch, said alluded even more. So what's next? Not tech, that's for sure. As we look forward to a primarily primitive themed ARK 2. We'll continue to provide meaningful updates and experiences to our ARK 1 survivors. I feel like this may have been lost on a lot of people. I haven't seen too many other people cover it, or certainly since last year I've not seen that conversation crop up too much. So does that mean you're all resigned to the fact that tech won't be a focus? Why is that? Well, for a start, many of you have never actually earned tech gear properly. You may have spawned some stuff in, you may have tried it in creative mode, but actually only 6% of you have actually bothered to go and complete the game fully by taking on the hardest level difficulty of the final boss fight. 6%, that is a crazy stat. Not to mention I do believe you can get some of these even still using cheats. So even with cheats enabled, only 6% of the Steam user base have actually managed to complete ARK. Given so much of the tech gear is tied behind boss fights, it's clear that many of you have never really experienced the full power of what tech can do, unless of course you plan on private servers, where maybe the drops are including lots of tech gear, etc. But I would still say that given a majority of players still play ARK single player or PvE, I can well imagine a whole bunch of you have never really tried a whole bunch out. Only when the newest update has come out have you jumped into creative mode, tested new features out and gone back to playing the primitive way of playing. Even when I've scoured some PvP videos, rare have I seen many YouTubers utilising tech for a whole massive amount. It's usually about that grind, that rise to tech, but after that, apart from a few pieces of the suit and maybe some glitchy stuff with the tech sword, it's something I don't see used enough. And even looking at the other boss fights, the ones that you come across where you can still earn stuff, like the Veteran Survivor, the Expert Survivor, basically taking on the Broodmother, and of course the Dragon, only around 10 to 12% of you have actually bothered completing the boss fights legit. That number actually increases again on Xbox a little bit. 24% of you have defeated the first 3 Guardians, and again you can use cheats to achieve this. And I well imagine it's around similar stats for the PlayStation. The grind to get tech is also contributing to not many players really experiencing or playing with it as much. Literally so many of you not completing the game means that yeah, you just not really had a chance to live and breathe tech. Now I might be coming across as someone that's advocating tech, I'm not, I really don't like some of the features of it. I've always hated the superhuman abilities that come with the suit and some of the other stuff. But not all tech is bad. Some of it has helped with quality of life improvements that we could possibly see in the future in ARK 2, but just not labelled as tech. Of course, you famously start with a full suit of tech gear in Genesis 2, and this is absolutely one of the worst decisions any DLC has ever made. ARK is loved for the grind. It's loved for the way that you have to go through the different stages, unlocking new engrams. To start a survival experience with some of the best gear in the game, even in limited form, it really took away a lot of what people love about ARK Survival Evolved. It may have fitted in terms of the story, and after so many DLCs and so many years, how much more did you want to just be running around crafting stone axes and picks and hitting away at trees? Which you still kind of have to do even though you've got a tech suit on. As said, it makes sense in story, and the devs wanted, I do believe, quick ways for you to get across the map, as there are so many more ways to play the game with this DLC, like the missions. That's the main focus. There's no doubt about it, this kind of signalled the death of ARK for me. I barely played more than a few hours of Gen 2, just because it took away so much of what I loved originally about the game. I love the fact that DLCs can transport you to different worlds, create and make something new out of a game that you've come to know for years. It's something that I really implore other game developers to do, rather than just add more of the same. Go out there, try something different. But Wildcard had already done this with Genesis 1, so I was pretty surprised and disappointed to see so much of it again put into the second part of this DLC. Some of the tech gear does sound cool, and it makes great for advertising leading up to these DLC launches. New tech saddles for some of the creatures, new tech weapons. It does look for good for a few second clips. And as I've been pointing out, to be fair, maybe some of us don't really appreciate how much tech can be great, or it can be a part of ARK, because it takes so long and so many of us have never really got there fully. We've only ever just spawned it in and went nope, or the grind to get there has always just been too long. But whatever the reason, primitive is the way that they're going to be going with ARK 2, all but confirmed yet again by one of its developers. And that is music to my ears. When you look at how much you can unlock via tech, new building pieces, saddles, underwater bases, and a variety of weapons and more features just from the base game, then why don't we see more of this in videos? Why don't we see more of this showing through achievements and trophies? Ultimately, if it was that good content to actually play with and use, people would be pushing through the grind to unlock this more often. Apart from the tech suit, maybe a few of the grenades, and of course the tech turrets, what else of this are you utilising? For PvE players, I know they really like the tech dedicated storage, but how many of you have actually built massive bases with tech? What about the tech ATV? Literally the most buggiest and noisiest piece of equipment ever. Is this something that is utilised properly in ARK? There are some nice little quality of life, little features in some of these. The tech light for sure. Tech trowel is good as well, and that's pretty much what tech has become. Instead of absolutely giving brand new gameplay mechanics like cloning, a lot of it devolved into just giving us quality of life for people that actually spent more money on DLC, given that you can't access some of the other tech related gear until you've bought that DLC. Again, unless you're spawning it in on single player. As more and more DLC was added to ARK, more and more reliance was put on tech tier items. When you think about how much there was for Scorched Earth and how little relied on tech, then with Aberration we got the sleeping pod, the railgun, Drake tech saddles. By the time Extinction was here, we were knee deep in tech. In fact, Extinction had some of the least amount of items that you could get in any of the DLCs. The tech gravity grenade, tech bridge, and then obviously the unassembled mech stuff, not to mention the additions and modules to transform it. For a while, tech suits of course were the meta, overpowered, many were utilising them in PvP, but when was the last time you used any of this gear? And then of course Genesis, adding all sorts of nonsense that no one has ever really utilised, not that I've seen creatively anyway, like the tech sensor. Tech grenade launcher anyone? The claws were cool, but were they really necessary? So many of these weapons, but how much of it has been utilised? And then of course with Gen 2 it was even worse. Things like Tech Canteen, basically revamped versions of what we already had, making it quicker and easier to get going. Genesis 2 took ARK away from so much what made the original game and some of the DLCs great. I think some of these ideas can be embellished so that they'll become primitive forms. We may end up getting different types of bows that can shoot different types of arrows, and they simply just won't call it tech. That is something I envision Wildcard doing a lot. Some of the ideas that they've got from some of this stuff, I'm sure will be implemented in different ways and just be labelled primitive. Ultimately, as long as we don't have any reliance on suits that can make you fly or give you Power Ranger boosts, jumps or whatever, or super speed, then that's all good, and that's pretty much all I want. A lot of the other things that I like apart from tech, I feel they can be utilised. There can be a more wide variety of weapons, but just maybe not as amped up as they are with the tech name attached to it. I just don't want to become Iron Man in a survival dinosaur based game. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about tech. Does ARK 2 need it? Are you sad it won't have as much? Is this brand news to you that in fact there won't be no tech? Until next time, rat bags, laters.